Yeah. I'm here for rebuttal, you know.
In terms of history, and I do love history, when I came to University Synagogue and began talking about the possibility of starting a Chevra Torah, Jeff was my advisor, my consultant, my nag and critic, and it all started with him. It really, really did. So, hi, it's really great to have you here.
I'm glad he's back so we can nag you some more.
Yes, and actually the only reason he's here is because his son is running again for the school board. We know that, but we're not going to mention it. But contributions are, of course, gratefully received. Okay, is that what you wanted? You can go now.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I'll see you next year. Okay.
Yeah. Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam,
asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asot b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Amen.
Hi, everybody. Let's see. Gary, Doris, Ray, Hannah. Hi, Hannah. Panina, Larry, Sukasa. Yes. Abby, really good to see you today. Hi. Hi. Effie, it's okay to see you. Kevin, Howard, Jeff, Cindy. Hi, Cindy. Steve and Mona. I see an empty statement that says Diane Mandel is there, but that's okay. Barbara.
Yes.
Stanley Davids, Natalie Shapiro, Carrie from Hawaii, Susie, we saw you last night, Marina, hi. Last night was a great night in the annals of the Jewish people. For whatever reason, Risa was called up to do the candle blessing, and thank God she knew it. But more importantly, I sang a duet with Don Gurney.
You were great.
Oh, thank you. This was one of the great moments in my life. And I'm sure that it's on tape someplace. And so I try to reclaim it. So actually, it really was. Wow. It was a beautiful service last night. It was very lovely. But the best part of the service was the duet. Okay. Let's see. Good job, everybody. Donna just came on. Hi, Donna. Your picture is a little far from your mother, but that's okay. We can handle that. Yeah, you're waving to each other. That's sweet. Our place and time. Some of this is not exactly correct, but I hope it'll be sort of correct. There's a notification. Please check it out. This Sunday, March 6th, 4 p.m. our time, there's going to be a gathering of international cantors singing in honor of the Ukraine. It is sponsored by the World Union for Progressive Judaism. Whatever, if you have a bunch of really good cantors, that's going to be great anyway. So check it out, March 6th, 4 p.m.
Rabbi?
Yes, please.
How do we find it? Is it going to be Zoomed or?
World Union for Progressive Judaism, Sukas.
Okay.
Yeah, WUPJ, and you'll look to their website. And if I'm correct, if I'm wrong, then just forget it. Going forward about our place and time, Friday, March 11th at noon, I will be impersonating Steve Leader in the Friday noon Torah teaching thing. So if you'd like to join me, I have a note here. Please note, Stan will not use the same material as he will on Saturday morning. So it'll be Friday noon, March 11th. I'll do some stuff. I actually know what I'm going to do because I'm not going to tell you. But in any event, it won't be the same material. Saturday morning, Friday morning, Friday noon, March 11th, Torah teaching. Jim Ruxin, are you there? Is Jim? Hi, Jim. You're going to talk about a potential serious Academy Award contender. Jim, are you there? Jim? Oh,
You're muted. Okay.
No,
okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
Hi.
So I just said that you're going to talk about a very serious Academy Award contender.
Oh, Coda, you mean? That's for next week, not this. Not
I
tonight.
know, but I'm doing my job here, Jim. Get with the course here. Come on.
Well, people will make up their own minds, but watch out for Drive My Car, which could be a hidden award winner. Not enough has been written about it. And Coda, of course, which we'll see next week, is a wonderful Best Picture nominee. And don't forget Tick, Tick, Boom, which is a fabulous, wonderful, and thrilling film. Who knew that Miranda could be such a great director? And can't rule out Spielberg's West Side Story, whether you liked it or not. So those are my picks. And
Okay, so in any event, March 12th will be the discussion on Coda. And people are absolutely encouraged to see it, even though Risa saw it, I have not yet seen it. Okay, and then Wednesday, March 16th, noon, current events. Thank God we aren't running out of material yet for our current events class. So that's good. And that evening is Erev Purim. Then, and there's so much, Sunday, March 20th. Sunday, March 20th, a major cantorial and instrumental concert at Wilshire. It is a fundraiser for the Ukraine. It is a major effort to try to funnel support for the Ukraine. And Sunday, March 20th, major cantorial and instrumental concert at Wilshire. Yes, Sukasa. You're muted. I'm sorry. Yeah. You got to hit something.
For the Sunday concert,
Pardon?
the time for the Sunday concert,
Okay.
4 o'clock.
4
What time?
o'clock. Thanks.
Okay. Cindy,
Yes.
what's up with the women of the world?
For University Synagogue Sisterhood members, we're having a tour of the Glazer campus, March 21st. The registration went out yesterday. We're already half full. So my ladies, Susie, Lynn, Diane, if you want to go, please at 10:01 today, please go on to your email and sign up because it's going to go fast. So there'll be a tour of the 3 buildings on the campus and then lunch afterwards.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Rabbi, you left out the March 17th fundraiser for the Wilshire camps, poker at Brentwood Country Club.
It's amazing why that didn't capture my attention.
That's going to raise a lot of money for the camps. Camps are important.
I know. Our family, Steve, is not much. I understand that. I'm just reminded of an exam that Risa took in college. Her degree is in biostatistics. Math is her world. And one of the questions on the exam required a prior knowledge of poker. And she had to go up to the professor and say, I don't know what you're talking about. And it was one of those great moments in academic history. Thank God he explained it. So, okay, it's so good to see everybody. Wow. Okay. Wow. Definitely. Wow. Barbara just came in. Brad, you're everywhere. Everywhere I turn, there is Brad. Hi, Fern. You're doing great. Brad, do you have any notion as to, I hope you don't return to Denver? Is that going to happen?
You were thinking in May for our typical 6-month sojourn there.
Wow. So that's a mazel tov on healing, right, man?
Thank you.
That means you've come through. You've come through.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. That's just excellent. Just excellent. Okay. I have to apologize. I'm in a good mood, so some of you may not recognize me. Any checking in, anything happening? I see Barbara there. Hi, Barbara. Anything happening that you'd like to share with us? Hopefully good news, challenges in your family, anything at all? Anything you want to share?
It's my 88th birthday.
Oh, Barbara.
When is that, Barbara?
Mazel tov.
Today?
No, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Happy
Ladies and
birthday.
gentlemen, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday
to
to
you.
Happy
birthday
to you.
Happy
birthday,
dear
Barbara.
Happy
Birthday to you.
many more.
Love you, Barbara.
Thank you, Susie.
Okay, you can send private messages or gifts as you will, but that is fabulous. Okay, that's great. Anything else in terms of checking in? I see Susie, yes.
Could I be excused and come right back? I want to sign up for the temple tour. I'm afraid I'll get left out.
Who's going to stop you?
No, we have 13 slots left.
Okay, all right. In an hour, they shouldn't be filled.
I
Okay.
can see you're pouring sweat and anxiety. Okay, fine. Okay, good. Anything else? And we're going to move on. Hi, Lynn. How are you?
That singing is so painful, Stan, that anything you do now is going to be an uplifting experience, I think. So
It's so good to have you back, Jeff. Thank you. Well, good. Another wound to add to the accumulation over the years. Today is our reading of the last Sedra in the book of Exodus. And as I really cleverly noted in my Thursday posting on Facebook, we are going to exit Exodus today. I thought that was pretty good. Not too many people laughed. There we go. So we're going to go to Exodus chapter 40.
Rabbi, can you leave the Exodus without yet entering the promised land?
We're going to read Exodus chapter 40, beginning with verse 28. And in the Plout, New Plout 634, the WRJ 558. 634 Plout 558 in the WRJ. Let me just find that. 634. Okay. Would somebody there are going to be 2 paragraphs, 28 to 33, and then 34 to 38. Does someone want to read the first section? Do I have a hand? Somebody? I see Mona. Okay, deliver it professionally.
Chapter 30, verse 28, right?
Chapter 40, verse.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's what I meant. Chapter 40, verse 28. Then he put up the screen for the entrance of the tabernacle. At the entrance of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, he placed the altar of burnt offering. On it, he offered up the burnt offering and the meal offering, as the Eternal had commanded Moses. He placed the laver between the tent of meeting and the altar and put water in it for washing. From it, Moses and Aaron and his sons would wash their hands and feet. They washed when they entered the tent of meeting and when they approached the altar, as the Eternal had commanded Moses. And he set up the enclosure around the tabernacle and the altar and put up the screen for the gate of the enclosure.
Okay, actually, that's a good space to stop. you know that the sentences were inserted at a later stage of development, and they're not always accurate. So here, a verse is actually broken apart correctly. I need another reader, please, for the second section. Do we have okay, thank you very much. We have a reader, Natalie, thank you.
When Moses had finished the work, the cloud covered the tent of the meeting, and the presence of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses could not enter the tent of meeting because the cloud had settled upon it, and the presence of the Lord filled the tabernacle. When the cloud lifted from the tabernacle, the Israelites would set out on their various journeys. But if the cloud did not lift, they would not set out until such time as it did fit. For over the tabernacle, a cloud of the Lord rested by day, and fire would appear in it by night, in the view of all the house of Israel throughout their journeys.
And so we say the two chazaks and a nit chazek. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Let us be strong. Let us be strong. Let us strengthen one another. Wow. Okay, I have here a traditional libation, and of course, I have to drink alone, which people say is a good sign of an alcoholic. But I'm going to put just a little bit of Slivovitz in the glass.
Is it Russian?
As a matter of fact, glad you asked. Answer: no.
No.
This, you can tell from the guy's face, very, very Jewish. It's native Pacific plum made in Modoc County, California. Okay? Oh. And it's only 41% by volume. And it's going to be Borei Pri Ha'etz because plums are tree things. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei Pri Ha'etz.
Hey.
Why don't you folks just go ahead and I'll catch up with you later. No, okay. And Cindy, I know, and you know what we're missing today, and
I get it at Costco and I haven't gone recently.
okay, the issue is herring, and someday we will be back in a normal rotation, and there will be herring and gefilte fish and ragalach and challah and hummus and cookies and all that stuff that you people bring. Someday we will be back, but that's great. Now, wow, it's so good to be together. I'm just looking around. Friends, I mean, that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at friends. Doris has come on, Karen has come on, Roz has come on. That is just super. Okay, now, doing a little bit different today. Today, I'd like to talk about a theme and not just read a few verses and talk about them. And the theme is, here we are closing up the study of a book of Exodus, and something happens here. There is a restatement of all that went into building the tabernacle, the Mishkan, the tabernacle. And then God gives the word to push start. And that means at a given moment, Moses is told to bring all the pieces of the tabernacle that were constructed on the direction of Bezalel and Oliav and the other artisans who were involved in building the tabernacle, but those pieces were like all scattered about. But now Moses receives the order, hit the start button, and the tabernacle is assembled. And from this point on, we deal with having the tabernacle. We are not clear on a bunch of things. Number one, no matter what we think of who went out in the Exodus from Egypt to Canaan, was there ever really a tabernacle in the desert? Let's see. Oh, Effie's here, so I'm not going to comment. But the question about whether the tabernacle was ever a real thing in the desert is a question. There's a second question. Sometimes the Mishkan is called the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and sometimes the tabernacle is called the Ohel, the tent. Were they the same thing? Were they not the same thing? And the answer is not clear. We don't know. So things that are so powerfully familiar are shrouded in uncertainty. Next, was the Ohel, the word means tent, was the Ohel actually the place where Moses slept? We have no personal information as to how Moses lived his life during the 40 years in the wilderness. We don't know. It doesn't say. You know, wouldn't it be great to find a missing chapter? Moses went home to his wife. She said, honey, how are you doing? And he says, those damn Israelites, you know, you can't deal with them. And a little bit of family, nothing. No information. Just think about that. 5 big books of Moses, 4 of the 5 deal with Moses and the Exodus. We have no insight into Moses's private life other than that strange event, which clearly is part of a corrupted text in which Moses's wife circumcises their son, and it's not clear. It is just not clear. So maybe the Ohel was, he was camping outside. Who knows? We don't know that. That's just one of the possibilities. But we have something which we need to look at, and that's the tabernacle itself. And what I would like to leave you with today is a fascinating view that the building of the tabernacle is intentionally described to be parallel to God's creation of the world. And I would like you to hold on to it because there's a bunch of interesting things here. So question number 1, and you're going to be graded on your responses. What was the purpose of the tabernacle? What was the purpose of the tabernacle? Why was it? Okay, I see Howard. Okay, and then Sukasa. Okay, do use your electronic hands, please, because it'll be easier for me, but I have Howard and Sukasa and Steve right now. Okay.
Was it the purpose of the tabernacle? Was it to provide a place for Moses to speak to God?
Thank you. Very important answer. Under the proper circumstances, Moses, throughout the wilderness wandering, communicates with God in the tabernacle, right? In the tabernacle. There were times that Moses was not allowed to enter, other times when Moses was told to enter. And by the way, what was the content, according to the rabbis, of much of the communication between Moses and God? What was the content? What was the content? Penina?
He was getting, first of all, instructions, and I would say getting into the mood or motivation. and it was sometimes pushed into making decisions.
Okay, but there's a major
And
piece.
it's a way of, and it was supposed to deliver to the people a way of life. To be with each other, to survive the area, whatever it is that was going on there, to kind of like put them together and bring them into a point where they are going to believe in this one God.
Okay, according to the tradition, Moses probably did not receive all of the Torah at Mount Sinai. What the rabbis frequently say is that in those gathering meetings with God in the tabernacle, Moses got more and more of revelation. All the details Penina's talking about, all the stuff that, besides the 10 Commandments and everything else, Moses got a lot of it. And some rabbis say, not only did Moses get revelation Torah in the tabernacle, Moses got the oral law as well. That the oral law, all the Talmudic materials revealed to Moses in the tabernacle. Bottom line, the tabernacle had a purpose, one purpose, a communication center between God and Moses. Okay, so that's a big thing. What else was the tabernacle for? What else? Okay, I see Donna, yes?
Well, the Torah says that they were supposed to build the tabernacle for God to dwell amongst the people.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Not only was it a communication center, but it was where the people knew that God's presence was manifest. Yes. Okay, Steve.
Along those lines, but I think it's a separate point. It gave, by being there and gathering the people around the tabernacle, when he came out and spoke to them, it gave him authority. The people, it was a way to show the people that he was speaking for God, not just as one of them.
Excellent. Thank you. I see Effie and then Harv, whoever is there, and Ray. So we'll go on. Effie.
It's a place to keep and store the 10 Commandments and the whole Bible.
Okay, so the inside the tabernacle is stored the broken pieces and this complete set of the 10 Commandments, the stone tablets from Sinai. Yes, that's where it was kept. Yes. Okay. And then let's see, Mara or Harv.
Yeah, I was just going to say basically what Effie said, except I was going to add that it was stored there for protection under a tent, and everybody knew where it was, but it was for protection.
Right.
And the Levites eventually protected it.
Interesting that you mentioned that, because when the camp moves, this material moved at the front of the line. Okay, so it was protection, but at certain points, it becomes the point of the people when they move to the next stop, and that we're doing great. Okay, I see Jeff, I see Ray, I see Fukasa. Please, Jeff.
I was going to say along those points, if from a philosophical or psychological point of view, it sets up the concept of concentric circles of specialness, of holiness. It's, in the Sanctum Sanctorum, which is taken from the Holy of Holies, the idea that just like we can dignify space and make space holy, time holy, that certain spaces are holy, certain objects are holy. So the idea of both separation and union are part of that there's certain places as you go into these concentric circles that get holier and holier until you get at the source. I just think that's an interesting aspect of it.
It's very interesting. And of course, that goes on in the building of the temple in Jerusalem. They may not have been exact circles, they were rectangles, but they were circles of holiness. Some could enter here, others could enter here. Oh, but others could enter here, until finally the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, into the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur. Yes, and we're going to get back to that actually. Ray and Sukasa, or Sukasa and Ray? I forgive me.
I have a concept that at the time, Judaism wasn't really Judaism. It was an evolving belief in one God. And I think that for people who were used to paganism and idols, it was important that they have a symbol where this being could dwell, since they didn't have the being. And I think that's part of the reason that the description of how to build the tabernacle was so exacting and explicit, because they wanted people to, it was an evolution of going from idols to a God that had no physical being, but that his essence would dwell in this particular structure.
Thank you very much. Actually, that was excellent because it feeds right into my next note. So I thank you for that. But that is a great insight. It is that. Now I'm going to call on Ray, but as I do so, Ray, are you involved in any of the concerts coming up at Wilshire?
Are you speaking to this Ray or to the other Ray? I'm not involved with
that. I'm sorry.
Okay. So actually, and I caution, I don't want to break the momentum here. I didn't have an insight so much as a question about a point in passing. If this is the wrong time for that, I'll put the question.
But you got to tell me when you're playing at Wilshire.
You're speaking to the other Ray, I assume? This is Ray Cosserin?
Ray, aren't you playing in part of the orchestral thing? Your name was mentioned.
Oh, I better start rehearsing. I wonder what that is.
Your name was mentioned last night. Okay, go ahead, give your insight.
Okay, no insight. It's actually a question. I apologize if it breaks the momentum. We can return to it later. But a kind of elementary question about the tradition you were addressing a few minutes ago of when Moses received the Torah as such. In a traditionalist narrative, which is, I think, probably midrashic in nature, what is a common or the common traditionalist concept of how the dots were connected between Moses on Sinai and the Chumash, what we understood as the capital T Torah, 5 books of Moses in its form? And we can return to this later, but I realize this is a gaping hole in my awareness of how we got to that understanding, and I'm curious what the prevailing belief or tradition is around that.
The prevailing belief, I guess the majoritarian position would be Moses received everything at Sinai, the written law and the oral law. But many rabbis, mainstream many rabbis, believe that in fact Moses received, like the 10 Commandments, maybe a little bit more at Sinai. And during the 40 years wandering in the encounters in the tabernacle, Moses received the installments of the rest of the Chumash. Both positions are traditional, and both positions end up with, by the time Moses died, all of it was communicated. Okay, I mean that's a quick answer, but it's a very important question. Penina.
Okay.
You're muted. You're muted. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm looking at the part where they started saying with value in money of when they built the Mishkan. They said that Bezalel, whatever he did was worth so much and so much and so much coins, like literally, matbeot, and they're talking about money. And it kind of like brings my attention that there were changes through the whole time where they were there. The people were changing in some ways that they managed and did business with each other. Life didn't stop because they were in the desert. In the beginning, we were told that they gave
Okay, you have to focus on a question.
Right. So the thing is that I think that what it's supposed to show that through all the changes, that like from jewelry, now it's money, life was changing there. It was like a community that were actually willing and dealing. Otherwise, why all of a sudden they would say that everything was cost so much money? So I think what they're trying to tell us is with all these changes, the center and what was supposed to be teaching them, 10 commandments, this did not change. And in the contrary is that if they want to ever build another one, they shouldn't cheapen it. They shouldn't accept less of what was done in the beginning when they started building it.
I think that's a great launch for another building campaign at Wilshire Boulevard. I think that would be really good. Don't cheapen what Moses did.
Exactly.
I don't know if that'll work, but okay. Now, what we have here is yet another purpose.
Okay.
And that is in the building of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle, there is work to be accomplished there. The work is the work of sacrifice. And that is all centered around the appurtenances, the stuff that go into the tabernacle. Now, here is the first point, actually. It only took 36 minutes to get here. The first point I would like to make is the creating of a ritual environment. This is not a simple question. The tabernacle represented a ritual environment. And the obvious implication is that people can't just come into a place and do ritual. There has to be something which represents, I can do this without moving my hand, that represents, I can't, okay, that represents for them the proper place to do ritual. And that's something really to think about. Wilshire's main building in Koreatown. You walk into that, I'll talk about me. I walk into that place and I am very certain that something serious is going to happen in that place. Would you please, two mother and daughter, stop waving to each other? It's very distracting. Okay, now, you walk into the place, it's a ritual environment. And the nature of the ritual environment has a lot to say about the ritual itself. I'd like to just mention that the temple in Atlanta, Georgia, just completed a $3.5 million electronic revamp of its sanctuary. The sanctuary is old, it's big, it's classic, Southern, magnificent, huge congregation. They just put in $3.5 million of electronics, wall hanging, screens, wiring, computer this, interactive stuff, and it's considered to be the first and best, well, first anyway, of any congregation in the country that has done that. We're talking about ritual environment because today people don't want to come into a building that says to them, sit down and be quiet. Many synagogues, churches, cathedrals say that. Come in and be quiet. We're going to do the ritual for you and at you. Okay? Your job is to fill a seat. Okay? Now, the temple in Atlanta, but it's happening everywhere. You've got to take the sanctuary and make it a ritual environment into which people can function. And that's not automatic, and it changes. So you either are up to the tomorrows or your environment doesn't permit ritual. We're talking about the tabernacle. In its day, it created the environment for ritual. If we showed up with the tabernacle today, it wouldn't be a big winner. I mean, it was magnificent in its day. Jeff, is your hand up or is it just?
Yes, no, it is up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, to that point, I think it's very clear that inherent in the establishment of the tabernacle and the ritual and tiers of holiness is a political order as well. And one could almost say at its most extreme, it was a caste system almost, that people, you have circles of people that were allowed closer to the tabernacle and those who had to stay outside of it. And so your interpretation of the way the tabernacle, the ritual has changed, certainly is pertinent to today, to the degree that our rabbis now don't even want to be elevated on a podium to speak to the
some rabbis.
Right.
Don't speak, because some of us
right, but I think
robes in front of people. But okay, go ahead.
Yeah, speaking to that, the Edgar Siskin model that I grew up with, it seems very clear that at the time, just being accurate, that it was a very patriarchal, very hierarchical setup. And now, when you were saying before that there may not be any evidence that this was actually built, and so the question that arose in my mind is, why would it be here? Because apologies to Effie, because if those who wrote it at a time when it was important to establish the different classes of priesthood and what people's roles were, it is important to establish that there are these designated roles with designated tiers of holiness. So to take it to your point about the Atlanta, it's fascinating how far it's come, but its origins certainly seem to be exactly what you said. Sit down, shut up, and we'll do it for you. I mean, not that not that that's a little harsh, but the point is it was definitely a top-down type of structure.
Absolutely. And I agree with your perception or insight that though written far after the fact, it was designed to create an origin story for the hierarchy. Okay? And that sounds, excuse me, that sounds really good and really important. The origin story of and by the way, it doesn't ever say that. It doesn't have to. That's what the set in a theater sense, Mona, that's what the set is all about. When you look at it, you know what is being communicated. When you see the Koreatown building in its original intention, you know what those people intended. And you also know that the university building, University Synagogue building, is going to be shut, I think, Cindy, if I'm correct, June or something like that. And they're going to start doing huge interior renovation. And one of the targets is the sanctuary.
Yes.
And there's a reason for that.
If I could just add one quick thing, Rabbi, it's so interesting to me that the reason for this was the survival of the Jewish people. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, not just the preservation of classes, but the survival of the Jewish people. And what you're talking about today with Atlanta is also the survival of the Jewish people, even though the approach may be 180 degrees from what it was in the desert. The goal is the same. How do we keep people coming?
Okay, this is such a rich topic. I got so much on. I'm going to go quick questions. Penina.
Okay.
Lost you again, Penina.
Okay. All right. We have to remember that those people that were supposed to be signified as the holy people actually were teachers. Today, the rabbis that we're calling, was it a rabbi? The word Rav means somebody who is in more knowledge or more experience than somebody else. It's a teacher. Those people that were there in holiness were actually teachers that you're teaching. What is a rabbi doing today? Every shul almost today has a school attached to it. The whole idea was that those were people who
Okay,
gave him
we're
direction.
gonna have to move past that, Panina. I would
That's it.
say,
I just think that it's important to remember that those were teachers. They taught the people what to do.
but the priests and the Levites in the tabernacle or in the temple were not teachers.
They were also judges.
They were ritual performers. They did things that nobody else was.
But they were also the example, and you learn by example.
Okay, Effie.
This week, Rabbi Steve had an article about David and Goliath.
Yes.
A very good article. But I wrote him, I said, you had a very good article, but I think that calling David and Goliath a myth is wrong. But I haven't heard back from him.
I'm glad you straightened him out. That guy, we all need to be effied. And that's cool. That's wonderful. I wonder what he'll say. Okay, Sue Casa, then Howard.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned that at the time it was sit down, shut up, and listen and work.
I never said shut up, by the way. I was accused.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to misquote you.
Be still. Be still.
Be still. Okay. My mother wouldn't let me say shut up. Anyhow, the Catholic Church is very much in that persona where the priest does the consecration and so forth. And I think the whole Reformation was partly a reaction to that, with the idea that we don't want, if you look at a Protestant church versus a Catholic church, to a church, they're much less ornate. The priests or the reverend, whoever the officiants don't wear the beautiful robes that you see. If you go to a Catholic church, the priests have beautiful robes with gold and so forth. So I think it's a little bit the same kind of a thing. But in the transition, I'm going to go back to my idea about building the tabernacle and having people come to that. And then as Judaism evolved, we realized we didn't need the trapping because everybody could have their own relationship with God. We didn't need the priests of the temple to do it.
I would only offer this. It wasn't such an intelligent insight by the Jews. Those Romans destroyed the temple. The adaptation.
Oops, we have an oops, so we have to change.
Yeah, the adaptation, Yochanan ben Zakkai, the others, the adaptation that they made was brilliant. Without it, we would have disappeared. But it wasn't, let's involve the people. No, oh my God, there's no temple. We got to figure out a way. Okay, I see Howard.
I just wanted to mention I some interesting scholarship which I read in the Biblical Archaeological Review that looked at to this very day some of the practices of desert nomadic people like the Bedouins, where they certain times of year they gather together in a certain area and they have a portable sanctuary which is a big tent. It has poles and it has ropes and hides and things like that, and it has ritual objects inside. So this very much as described in the Torah, the construction. So even though it might have been written 1,000 years after the time being described, it described accurate description of portable sanctuary.
A reality that they knew. A reality
that they knew of, yeah.
I mean, I had the same feeling that one time we sailed down the Nile and we saw farmers' huts out on the fields, and they were Sukkot. They were precisely that. The farmers didn't live near their property, so when it was harvest time, they built these Sukkot. Okay, I mean, there's so many people, and I see Steve. Actually, somebody's behind you. Is that Thais?
It is. Hi.
Good, because I want credit for more people. If there are 3 of you, I'm going to jot that down. But it's so good to see you, Thais.
Good to see you too.
Okay, did you guys?
Mona was the one whose hand is raised.
I'm sorry?
It's Mona's hand.
Okay, Mona.
I was just going to say that in terms of having a place of beauty where people would come together and worship, I don't think there was a loss of pride and appreciation of beauty. As a practical matter, Jews for centuries would deliberately make their houses of worship quite modest on the outside so as not to arouse the wrath of their neighbors and not to be more likely to be attacked. But inside, if you go to old synagogues in Italy or North Africa or all over the place, they can be very beautiful and very elaborate. So I don't think in that sense I think it was Sue who said that as a result of the Reformation, there was a change in the style of churches. I don't think that's what's going on.
No, it's not.
Judaism. The modest exterior was a deliberate, pragmatic approach to deal with violent anti-Semitism.
And look, I opened, wait 1 second, Patina, hold, please. We are living today in what is being described by smart people as a liminal age. Things are changing rapidly. Liminal age. They're changing rapidly. One of the things that's changing is, will people ever come into synagogues or churches again? It's not COVID that we're talking about. It's what will be, and boy, this is a topic. We can give it to Fern and they can bring it to the board of Wilshire. What will be the ritual environment that will draw people in and be meaningful to them tomorrow, next year? The one thing that I know for certain in a liminal moment is that it won't be what we have now. It's almost like, forget that. What we're looking for is what we don't know. We don't know what will draw people in. But aesthetics, critically important. Among the successful synagogues that have survived and grown through the pandemic are those that found a way to add music, art, literature, aesthetics, and not the old pattern. I have to stop talking. Okay, I see Steve Mara, then I see Eric, and then this is great, but I'm overwhelmed. Okay. Eric, you're muted, I think. No, okay, we're gonna.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
I'm a member of Central Synagogue in New York, and we're getting so popular that there's a waiting list for membership. And we have members on Zoom from all over the country, all over the world. And instead, we have electronic synagogue now. And also, it reminds me of the Field of Dreams. If they build it, he will come.
But Eric, I think that Central is magnificent. It is aesthetically overwhelmingly beautiful. But right now, what's drawing people in isn't a building that was built in 1873. It's the life of the synagogue, and it involves music and culture and literature.
Angela is doing a fantastic job.
Okay, but understand, things are changing, and our leaders better understand that. Okay, Harv or Mara or whoever.
Abraham didn't need a sanctuary to see God. And it seems to me that all of our discussion about having a beautiful sanctuary and adding music and literature, etc., is not the answer. To my mind, the biggest problem with Judaism today is that it does not teach people how to see God in their lives, how to commune with God, how to sense God. And if we look at things like the popularity of meditation and Buddhism, etc., they are serving the needs of people. And it seems to me that we need to pay more attention to developing Jewish souls,
right,
rather than developing Jewish buildings. When, quite honestly, when I loved the service last night. I thought it was beautiful and informative. But in terms of my ability to sit and pray and commune with God, it did not create an environment for me to be able to do that.
Wow.
And I would like to just echo that the word environment must not, and if I misrepresented that, you corrected me, must not represent physical environment only. Both are environments. And I would suggest that the spiritual environment is hugely important, but that for most people, other than the spiritually aware, sometimes the entry is the physical environment. And that could be by the seashore. Remember, I'm not talking about buildings. I'm talking about ritual environments. It could be by the seashore. It could be in a forest. It could be in a desert. Boy, that's easy in a desert. But as someone who used to be a professional in the field, it is hugely frustrating to understand that the answer is Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chayim. You need both. You need a setting. And by the way, in the Buddhist setting, sometimes the simplest, I have meditated in Buddhist monasteries, and they are absolutely simple, plain, with a big statue of the Buddha up front. That's an environment too. And that physically allows a spiritual opportunity. And I'm just going to say it offers both. Okay, we're running. I have so much. Oh, we're going to have to come back next year. Brad.
Well, I want to go back to Donna's comment about how this is, in a sense, God's home on earth. And, what kind of home is this? This is at the same time a way of God living amongst us and yet being apart from us. It accomplishes both goals, because even this text, this passage that we read, even Moses is not allowed in the tabernacle when God is present. So this is an expression of God's desire for immanence, and at the same time, his need for separation and hiding himself from us. So what better expression than this tabernacle?
Thank you for that. We are, okay, Janina, one sentence.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't mean that the value of the place supposed to be, that devaluing the place supposed to be in money or in appearance. I'm talking about the feeling and the importance, because when the Bet HaMikdash was burnt by the Romans, they hid in caves and they learned. In the caves, they gathered up. That's how the Torah survived. They hid it in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They didn't need a big temple. What I meant is value, in importance, is it signified, they tried to use the value of the moment in money to emphasize importance of the building, not the value actually with money. It was in terms of times changing, but the value was supposed to be spiritual, not to devalue the value of the place. That's it.
And I would say to you, in talking to Mara as well, that when the priests were offering sacrifices, the spiritual uplift of the people was not their primary concern. Their primary concern was the exact performance of the required ritual.
Exactly.
And any variation was dangerous.
Exactly.
Dangerous because God could strike them down if they would vary what they are doing. Let's go back to the original question. Ritual environment. Moses, the people, okay, this is retrojected back into time, fine, probably from the days post first temple, after the destruction, but nevertheless, putting before the people a ritual environment within which they could establish their contact with God and in which they could fulfill God's will. Nothing in the description today that we read is accidental. Think about that. Nothing. Everything from the dollars, Penina, or shekel or whatever, from the dollars to the shape, to the length, to the width, to how they connect, what materials, nothing is accidental. There's a lesson there. In those days, approaching God was dangerous. It was dangerous, not frivolous. Can you imagine in this environment, a young Levite coming to work in the temple has a bag from McDonald's and is eating French fries while he's getting the altar cleaned? Answer, no. Oh my God, no. And yet in our world, that kind of attention to intentionality has been set aside, Everything that is described in the tabernacle is intentional, and the purpose of the intentionality is to focus attention. This is where the sacred action takes place. Pay attention. That's your job here. Bring the sacrifice, pay attention. I'm going to close. I have to. This has been fantastic, okay? And not nearly all that needs to be said, and we'll have it for next year, but to think about the fact, what do we want in a ritual environment? Because what we used to want is not what we do want and not what we will want. And we have to find a way to communicate to leadership that the world is changing. It always changes. And they have to be ready for it. I am going to move now to Kaddish. I'm going to be mentioning an additional name of one of the leading rabbis of our time, Rabbi Martin Wiener, who was in San Francisco for many, many, many years and was president of the Central Conference of American Rabbis, and a friend who passed away suddenly this week. And we're going to join together in Kaddish, and I'll read the list. You'll add your names. And I have to thank you for today. It was nothing short of fantastic. Those who have passed away during the past month: Solly Berman, Saul Block, Rafi Carroll, Milton Cohn, Betty Denitz, Alexander Dullian, Steve Goldinger, Stanley Goldklang, Taji Newman, Mehdi Porcellini, Teresa Shapiro, Sarah Lynn Sidley, Miriam Spiritus, Mike Tubby Turbo, Rabbi Martin Wiener, Nancy Zeman. And the following, the yortzites of whom occurred during this past week: Bill Abrams, Dorothy Adlin, Alfred Adler, Jack Armo, Sidney Beckerman, Alfred Burke, Leonard Berman, Robert Berry, Carol Ann Brand, Ruth Bronte, Lillian Brostoff, Martin Brown, William Brunman, Irving Birkin, Norma Candib, Sylvia Chiswick, Stella Codd, Menachem Davidson, Marion Immergluck Denitz, Shmuel Dick, Herbert Eric, Menashe Eliachar, Helen Felsenthal, Doris Fink, Irving Fink, Max Martin Fisher, Harry Fleischman, Monty Friedman, Maurice Gersh, Harry Gilfenbein, Marley Goldbacher, Robert Goldberg, Marlene Goldblum, Charlotte Goldman, Bram Goldsmith, Annette Gologorsky, Giza Gray, Stanley Grinstein, Nina Habert, Harry Harris, Edith Hecht, Jack Hertz, Rebbe Yehuda Heskioff, Evelyn Honaroff, Louis Jacobs, Jean Campbell Jones, Arthur Josephs, Judy Carmen, Aaron Carmen, Ebrahim Kashani, Leon Klappholtz, Elizabeth Klein, Helen Klein, Gordon Corpade, Elizabeth Korzina, Marcus Labe, Jay Linsa, Oscar Lerman, Dave Levitch, Jean Lieber, Ruth Linick, Olive Lipkin, Sidney Loeb, Mildred Lomask, Nicholas Lubin, Leo Morant, Stan Margulies, Lydian Mark, Dina Mason, Margaret Perkins Mautner, Murray Miller, Shirley Oka, Maxwell, Bernard Perkins, Michael Polivoy, Arpad Rev, Marshall Rissman, Ann Bessie Rosen, Barbara Fingerhut Rothschild, Milton Rowan, Joyce Rubenstein, Rhoda Samuel, Ruth Saban, Jacqueline Rose Schiff, Harry Schneider, Hal Seeger, Albert Serlin, Sarah Shaw, Leo Sirota, Alfred Skluth, Bertha Skolnick, Jonathan Slott, Ruth Sones, Nathan Spielberg, Sam Steinberg, Stephen Tech, Janet Tenzer, Linda Tepper, Ruth Valaise, Albert Waxner, Alexander Wasserman, Shirley Weinstein, Helene Groman Weiss, Milton Weiss, Elaine Weiner, Aubrey Woolworth, Eleanor Yowitz. Again, with apologies for those whose family or friend names I have mispronounced, and for names that I have omitted. If you would like to say aloud any other name to be mentioned at this time, please do so.
Ellen Weiner.
We mention as well the names of all who died in the defense of the United States and of Israel. We mention those whose lives were taken through acts of horrid violence. And we mention as well not only the innocents, the people of Ukraine, we mention as well all of those people who died in a war and who yet will die in a war that never should have happened. If you wish to stand, please stand to join us. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shnei Rabbah. Bialma Divrach Yute, Biamlich Malchute, B'chaye Chonav Yomekom, B'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala B'zman Karev Yimru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach, Le'olam Le'omei Almaya, Yisparach, Yishtabach, Yishtar, Yitramam V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal, Shemei Kodesh Barichu, Le'elam Min Kol Berachata V'shirata, Tush B'chata V'nechameh, Da'amiran Be'alma V'yiru Amen, Yesh Lama Rabba Min Shmaya, V'chayim, Aleinu V'yal Kol Yisrael V'yiru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Ramav, U'yaseh Shalom. Aleinu V'yal Kol Yisrael Hebrew, amen. May God who makes peace in the high places make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among all the families and nations of earth, and may that time come soon, and let us say, amen.
Amen.
Thanks, folks. Love you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you for today. Thank you. It was grand. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody.
Shabbat shalom.